Now for our What in the World segment. Many believe that the great divide in America is exacerbated by technology, those supercomputers in our pockets, otherwise known as cell phones, and the social media apps that are on them. But in the developing world, cell phones and internet access can represent something entirely different. Tools that can bring about progress for the economy and society, particularly where the government has failed. Nowhere is this more clear than in India, where people are coming online fast. In 2000, India had just 20 million internet users. Last year, it had 462 million internet users and climbing. By 2025, the pool of Indian internet users is projected to grow to more than 850 million. Why is this happening? Well, most of these users are coming to the internet via smartphones, which are extremely cheap in India, as is data. How could this phenomenon change the country and the world? Here to tell us is Ravi Agarwal, a former GPS senior producer, who is now the managing editor of Foreign Policy and the author of the new book, India Connected. So, Ravi, first, the breadth of the scale of this shift is extraordinary. I mean, some of the statistics I've seen said 2 years ago, India was 150th in cellular bandwidth consumption in the world. Now it's number one, higher than China, higher than the United States. Why is that?
Well, it's all because of the smartphone. And so if you look at India, say 10, 15 years ago, the only way to get online would be to have a PC and a landline, which is how Americans were getting online in those days. But only 2% of Indians had PCs in the year 1999. So if you look at that trajectory, Indians were never going to get online in a mass way if it was only for computers or wireless. But the evolution that we've seen in America is a revolution in India, and that's because of cheap smartphones that are reaching hundreds of millions of people. That's getting them online. And Fareed, it's more than just a phone. This is their first camera, their first alarm clock, their first video device, all of that in one device, and that's why it is as powerful as it is.
And in many ways, a lot of things the smartphone will allow India to leapfrog over old models, Western models, American models, right? So, for example, Indians will actually essentially skip the laptop and go directly to the phone as the computer, as the portal to the internet.
Exactly. And so Indians weren't really using credit cards, for example. Now they don't need to, because so many of them are taking their business and their shopping online, and they're using apps, the equivalent of a PayPal or a Venmo in India, for example. One of those companies is called Paytm. They're able to use those things for transactions in ways that are helping them to leapfrog and arrive in the digital economy. And again, the reason why this is as exceptional as it is that India is still a very poor country. It is still mostly rural. It is still a place that has 300 million illiterate people who can now speak to their phone, and the phone can speak back to them. They can watch videos. These are all things that are revolutionary and only happening because of a smartphone revolution.
There's one other element to India that is kind of unusual, which is that the government has created really the first biometric ID system. So every Indian has a biometric ID, this random computer-generated series of digits. And what it means is, a banker in India was telling me, the online banking system in India is faster than anywhere else in the world. He can set up an account in 3 minutes flat in India.
Yeah, and that's because, so this digital ID system, the biometric system, it is often connected to bank accounts, and it allows people to have a form of identification that they didn't have before, that essentially says, I am me. And it allows it to then connect to various other services in a way that is really remarkable. The Indian model could end up being a different model, where the internet and data is more of a public good that is controlled or managed by the government in ways of connecting people through something like Aadhaar.
You talk in the book, which really is terrific, about some of the downsides, some of the cautions. But I think for our purposes, it really is worth focusing on this extraordinary opportunity that this technology has given, as you say, to a very poor country. Ravi, pleasure to have you on.
Thanks a lot.
Next on GPS, the founder of LinkedIn, Reid Hoffman, on